Hi, welcome back again. Today we're going to talk about the second method for analyzing our organization, and that's called a strategy map. Strategy maps can look really daunting and really imposing, but the reality is they're not all that complex. It just takes a little time to apply. Now, it's simply a description or a diagram that describes how your company or organization creates value. And the way you create value is by linking your objectives in some kind of cause and effect relationship. It's based on the four balanced scorecard perspectives of financial, customer, internal, and learning. Now, let's look at those four for a second. Financial is easy to measure. We're trying to find out if we're making money, losing money, breaking even, whatever it turns out to be. Customer perspective can be gathered. That's pretty easy to do, and most companies do a pretty good job of figuring out what their customers want and need. Internal processes and capacities. What can we as an organization do right now? This is a little harder to measure and a little more difficult to grab hold of because what we're trying to measure is not just what we can do and are doing, but also the maximum that we can produce right now. The last element is called learning and growth. How do we make our employees more intelligent, more involved, more able to grow? And if we can grow our employee base, that will allow our company's capacity to grow significantly. The key element to the strategy map is that it links these scorecards that monitor the progress towards strategic objectives. So the scorecards will include some kind of measurements or metrics, targets, what our goals are, and the initiatives we use to move forward. The balanced scorecard is simply a way to measure our progress towards the future objectives. It lets us align the business activities to the vision and the strategy that management has set up. It lets us improve our communications both internally and externally, and it lets us monitor our organizational performance as we move towards those strategic goals. Now, the design uses only the measurements that we've been looking at, the small number of measurements. It lets us set targets for them and then measures them on a regular basis. So it's not a one-time only thing. It's a measurement in time to see how you're moving towards those goals. So its real value becomes in the fact that we can see not just where we're going to end up, but where we are now, where we are in 2 months, where we are in 4 months, where we are in 6 months, and it becomes a way that we ourselves carefully. Now this is a strategy map. This is called the Kaplan-Norton model, and it looks at two measures of financial and organizational strength. One is called the productivity strategy, where we're focusing on how much we can produce, and the other one is the growth strategy, focusing on how far we can move our company into the future. And this identifies each of these from four different perspectives. First, the financial perspective. How do we make more money? How do we make more money now? How do we make more money in the future? And so we can either improve our costs or increase our assets. We can either expand our revenue opportunities, we can enhance customer value. Now, all of these come from perspectives of our customer and what they think our value proposition really is. And we can then break those down into the internal perspectives of operations, customer support, innovation, and the external impacts of regulation and social. The learning growth perspective deals with how do we make our human capital more valuable. Human capital is just a fancy word for employees. Our information capital more valuable, how much information we have about our line of business. And then the organizational capital, primarily the culture, the leadership, how well it's aligned, and how well it works together. So here you're going to see one that's a little more filled out. Not particularly well filled out, but it's kind of a generic approach. And you can see that the productivity and the revenue add up to sustained shareholder value. Shareholder value is simply a combination of the money we make and the value we pour back into the company. So one of the things we want to do is either improve our costs by raising the price or improving the quality, increasing our assets by making them more available for a better selection, improving our customer value by function and by service, and then increasing our revenue by improving our brand or partnering with other people who bring something to the table that we need. So you can see as we go through this, it's actually a fairly simple, straightforward diagram. What I'd like you to do is read those last couple of lines and make sure they make sense. So here's you a simple example with strategic themes. What are we trying to do? If you look at the model, they're all the same. It's exactly the same model we had before, but we're looking at it slightly differently. We're looking at our customers, our technology, and our operations from the perspective of the customer, from the company itself, and from the ability to learn. Notice that these models focus heavily on capacity, growth inside the organization, and learning. Are we a learning organization, one that develops our skills further and further and further so that they are better all along? So what I'm going to ask you to do is take an empty template like this, and for the company that we've been working with, I'm not going to mention it here because I might change it next semester, but for the company we're working with, I want to identify from the financial perspective what's our most important financial outcomes. What must this company do to survive? Now, from the customer perspective, what should we appear like to our customers? What do our customers want to look at us and see? And then from the process perspective, what things within the context of the company's organization must we excel to make our customers particularly happy? And then the learning and growth perspective, how will we sustain our ability to improve, to make our products more and more valuable, to make our customers more and more happy? So we're going to fill out this form for the company thinking about working on. Now here's a model of the public sector. Now, this could be a college, a private college, a public school, the tribal organization. It could be a city organization. It could be a state. Anything that allows us to do this. And you'll see that we fill this one out much more carefully than we have the ones in the past. Notice that our stakeholder is the value to the taxpayer. What do we, as a public entity, do to provide value to our stakeholders, in this case, our taxpayers? And then we identify the things that we have to do. And what does the customer, remember that's the taxpayer, expect of us? We want a safe, convenient bus service. We want clear and accurate timetables. We want to be on time with our bus service. We want to support businesses' commerce by putting our buses where they need to be. And then from a financial perspective, we've got to balance the budget, we've got to secure funding, and we want lower cost on our bus service. So now we look at relationship management, we look at innovation, we look at operational excellence. The reality is these are the ways that you can make the internal process work better. How do we grow? We make our bus drivers better. We empower our customer service agents, and we integrate knowledge management systems to help everyone along the line in understanding